Tonight I have 3 excerpts from the novel A Confederacy of Dunces by John Kennedy Toole, which is one of the most bizarrely funny books ever written, and I strongly recommend it. I don't think that these 3 excerpts are really going to get across just the full madcap, zany fun of this book, but I'm going to try my best. The first excerpt is from the book's foreword by Walker Percy, who was a writer who helped get the book published posthumously. While I was teaching at Loyola in 1976, I began to get telephone calls from a lady unknown to me. What she proposed was preposterous. It was not that she had written a couple of chapters of a novel and wanted to get into my class. It was that her son, who was dead, had written an entire novel during the early 60s, a big novel, and she wanted me to read it. Why would I want to do that, I asked her. Because it is a great novel, she said. Here, at any rate, is Ignatius Reilly, without progenitor in any literature I know of. Slob extraordinary, a mad Oliver Hardy, a fat Don Quixote, a perverse Thomas Aquinas rolled into one, who is in violent revolt against the entire modern age, lying in his flannel nightshirt in a back bedroom on Constantinople Street, New Orleans, who, between gigantic seizures of flatulence and eructations, is filling dozens of Big Chief tablets with invective. His mother thinks he needs to go to work, and he does in a succession of jobs. Each job rapidly escalates into a lunatic adventure, a full-blown disaster, yet each has, like Don Quixote's, its own eerie logic. Toole's greatest achievement is Ignatius Reilly himself, intellectual, ideologue, deadbeat, goof-off, glutton, who should repel the reader with his gargantuan bloats, his thunderous contempt, and his one-man war against everybody: Freud, homosexuals, heterosexuals, Protestants, and the assorted excesses of modern times. Imagine an Aquinas gone to pot, transported to New Orleans, whence he makes a wild foray through the swamps to LSU at Baton Rouge, where his lumber jacket is stolen in the faculty men's room where he is seated, overcome by mammoth gastrointestinal problems. His pyloric valve periodically closes in response to a lack of, quote, proper geometry and theology in the modern world. The second excerpt is a letter that Ignatius writes to his pseudo-girlfriend Myrna Minkoff, who he met in grad school and who is currently running around New York City trying to incite as many revolutions as she can against what would broadly be considered the man. It comes after Ignatius has taken a job as an office clerk at Levy Pants, a clothing factory which is barely treading water, inherited from the founding father by a son who has no interest in the business. I am really quite fatigued as my first working day draws to a close. I do not wish to suggest, however, that I am disheartened or depressed or defeated. For the first time in my life, I have met the system face to face, fully determined to function within its context as an observer and critic in disguise, so to speak. Were there more firms like Levy Pants, I do believe that America's working forces would be better adjusted to their tasks. The obviously reliable worker is completely unmolested. Mr. Gonzalez, my boss, is rather a cretin, but is nonetheless quite pleasant. He seems eternally apprehensive, certainly too apprehensive to criticize any worker's performance of duty. Actually, he will accept anything almost, and is therefore appealingly democratic in his retarded way. As an example of this, Miss Trixie, our Earth Mother of the world of commerce, inadvertently set flame to some important orders in the process of lighting a heater. Mr. Gonzalez was quite tolerant of this gaffe when one considers that the company of late has been receiving fewer and fewer orders, and the orders were a demand from Kansas City for some $500 worth of our product. We must remember, though, that Mr. Gonzalez is under orders from that mysterious tycooness, the reputedly brilliant and learned Mrs. Levy, to treat Miss Trixie well and to make her feel active and wanted. But he has also been most courteous to me, permitting me to have my will among the files. I intend to draw Miss Trixie out rather shortly. I suspect this Medusa of capitalism has many valuable insights and more than one pithy observation to offer. The only sour note, and here I degenerate into slang to more properly set the mood for the creature whom I am about to discuss, was Gloria the stenographer, a young and brazen tart. Her mind was reeling with misconceptions and abysmal value judgments. And after she had made one or two bold and unsolicited comments about my person and bearing, I drew Mr. Gonzalez aside to tell him that Gloria was planning to quit without notice at the end of the day. Mr. Gonzalez thereupon grew quite manic and fired Gloria immediately, affording himself an opportunity at authority which I could see he rarely enjoyed. Actually, it was the awful sound of Gloria's snake-like heels that led me to do what I did. Another day of that clatter would have sealed my valve for good. Then, too, there was all of that mascara and lipstick and other vulgarities which I would rather not catalog. I have many plans for my filing department and have taken, from among the many empty ones, a desk near a window. There I sat with my little gas heater at full force throughout the afternoon, watching the ships from many an exotic port steaming through the cold, dark waters of the harbor. Miss Trixie's light snore and the furious typing of Mr. Gonzalez provided a pleasant counterpoint to my reflections. Mr. Levy did not appear today. I am given to understand that he visits the business rarely, that he is actually, as Mr. Gonzalez puts it, trying to sell out as soon as possible. Perhaps the three of us, for I shall endeavor to make Mr. Gonzalez dismiss the other workers if they arrive tomorrow. Too many people in that office will probably prove distracting. In the office can revitalize the business and restore the faith of Mr. Levy the Younger. I have several excellent ideas already, and I know that I, for one, will eventually make Mr. Levy decide to put his heart and soul in the firm. I have, incidentally, made a very shrewd bargain with Mr. Gonzalez. I convinced him that because I had helped save the expense of Gloria's salary, he could respond by transporting me to and fro by taxi. The haggling that ensued was a blot upon an otherwise pleasant day, but I finally won my point by explaining to the man the dangers of my valve and of my health in general. The third excerpt chronicles another day at the rat-infested offices of Levy Pants. Mr. Levy has just put in a token visit to the office, Mr. Gonzalez is fawning all over him, and Miss Trixie just wants to be given her retirement hand and left alone. But Ignatius has other ideas. By the way, Mr. Levy, I have some letters for you to sign. I had to write a letter to Abelman's Dry Goods. We always have trouble with them, Gonzalez said. I know. What do those crooks want now? Levy asked. Well, Abelman claims that the last lot of trousers we shipped him were only 2 feet long in the leg. I'm trying to straighten out the matter. Yeah? Well, stranger things have happened around this place, Mr. Levy said quickly. The office was already beginning to depress him. He had to get out. Better check with that foreman in the factory. What's his name? Look, suppose you sign those letters like always. I have to go. Mr. Levy pulled the door open. Don't work these kids too hard, Gonzalez. So long, Miss Trixie. My wife asked about you. Miss Trixie was sitting on the floor relacing one of her sneakers. Miss Trixie, Mr. Gonzalez screamed. Mr. Levy is talking to you. Who? Miss Trixie snarled. I thought you said he was dead. I hope that you will see some vast changes the next time you drop in on us, Ignatius said. We are going to revitalize, as it were, your business. Okay. Take it easy, Mr. Levy said, and slammed the door. Oh, he's a wonderful man, Mr. Gonzalez told Ignatius fervently. From a window, the two watched Mr. Levy get into his sports car. The motor roared, and Mr. Levy sped away within a few seconds, leaving a settling cloud of blue exhaust. Perhaps I shall get to the filing, Ignatius said, when he found himself staring out the window at only an empty street. Will you please sign that correspondence so that I can file the carbon copies? It should now be safe to approach what that rodent has left of the Abelman folder. Ignatius spied while Mr. Gonzalez painstakingly forged Gus Levy to the letters. Mr. Riley, Mr. Gonzalez said, carefully screwing the top onto his $2 pen, I'm going into the factory to speak with the foreman. Please keep an eye on things. By things, Ignatius imagined that Mr. Gonzalez meant Miss Trixie, who was snoring loudly on the floor in front of the file cabinet. Seguro, Ignatius said and smiled. A little Spanish in honor of your noble heritage. As soon as the office manager went through the door, Ignatius rolled a sheet of Levy stationery into Mr. Gonzalez's high black typewriter. If Levy Pants was to succeed, the first step would be imposing a heavy hand upon its detractors. Levy Pants must become more militant and authoritarian in order to survive in the jungle of modern commercialism. Ignatius began to type the first step. To Abelman's Dry Goods, Kansas City, Missouri, USA. Mr. I. Abelman, Mongoloid Esquire. We have received via post your absurd comments about our trousers, the comments revealing, as they did, your total lack of contact with reality. Were you more aware, you would know or realize by now that the offending trousers were dispatched to you with our full knowledge that they were inadequate so far as length was concerned. Why? Why? You're in your incomprehensible babble, unable to assimilate stimulus